Hello and welcome to a short rules video. In this one I want to clear up the confusion on what happens with equipment in Legends of Runeterra, and for that I want to in the first part explain what damage is in other card games, what equipment is in other card games, and then in the second phase go to Legends of Runeterra just to clear up the confusion first, and this should help you. You just want to skip ahead, there's a timestamp for when we just talk about Legends of Runeterra. So, how does damage work in different card games and how does equipment work? Well, the easiest one is Yugioh. Yugioh, you just have no damage at all. And we have a blue eyes fight here, it's like 3000 attack. We have our Dark Magician, that's 2500. And if these two battle, this guy is bigger and this guy dies. There's no damage, there's no nothing. Nothing is left behind on the blue eyes as fact. Now, Yu-Gi-Oh! Also has these equipped spells, have like this funny symbol over it, doesn't matter what this card does. Just to show you, they get put under the card or next to the card, doesn't matter, like in a different zone, and then they can be interacted with. So like if this, the other way around, if this guy dies, then the equipment, or the equipped spell I think it's called, dies as well. But you can also have like a card like this, which says destroy any spell or trap card, that's a spell card. You can blow this up and then just remove it. But there's no damage in Yu-Gi-Oh! However, this is usually how you can see it, different space on the board, and can be interacted with separately. The first time I really understood damage was with Pokemon. Many people didn't play Pokemon, you have these guys that can hit each other. For example, this guy has a punch, this guy has a kick, and you need energy to do that, and then they have like life points over here of 50. My job, this can punch and kick, and then you have a Goldeen who has like a horn attack for 10. This is 50 life, this is 40 life, and let's say he has 2 energy, and then he punches this guy. So punch does 20, so you just put a 2 counter on this unit, and it has 2 damage on it. And this means if it gets 2 more damage, with another punch, then it would die. Because 4 and 4, and it would be defeated. Pokemon don't die, but you know what I mean. However, then there are also equipments, they're called items in this game. Like this guy, you can see the English text right on the side here. And when you put this on this guy, he gets plus 20 HP. So he goes up to 60, and then if he like gets another energy and kicks, now there's a second attack, that's 3, then you have 5. But with the equipment or the item, it's enough to survive this. However, if you would, for example, with an effect of another attack, you can see on the right side here, if you would blow up this equipment, then it would be all of a sudden 5 damage and 40 life, and then the unit would once again be defeated. And this is just, this whole damage system is just because you didn't have anything else back in the day. When I started playing Pokemon, it was like 5 or so, or 6, and you can't just remember how much damage each thing dealt, or you just put a dice or even like these fancy counters on it. This is how damage counters came into place, first of all. Then the second game that's closer to Yu-Gi-Oh! Is closer to Legends of Runeterra is Magic. Magic, you have also these guys, they have a similar set line, 1-1. And then, let's say your opponent has a snake here, also a 1-1. And in Magic, damage counters don't really matter that much because every unit has regeneration. However, in Magic, we also have these equipments. They're called artifact equipment, and they basically just lie there on the side. And then you can pay the equip cost 1 mana and put it on a guy. And this changes the guy from a 1-1 to a 2-2. He now has a bigger stat line. And let's say he battles with this guy, then obviously this guy dies because it's a 2-2, but it leaves 1 damage behind on the soldier. Now, if I were to destroy this sword now, let's say with this card, it's Nature's Claim, destroy target artifact or enchantment, control gains for life, this is an artifact. So this card, it's a spell card, can blow it up. Then all of a sudden he loses this +1/+1, is a 1-1 with 1 damage counter and dies. Similar thing happens if you move this equipment. So in Magic you can move the equipment around by paying 1. So for example, I pay 1, move this to this guy. Now he turns into a 2-2, This guy is a 1/1 with 1 damage and dies. This actually happens quite a lot in like limited games, where you just forget that you have damage on this guy. Later on you find it out and that the guy actually randomly died by just moving the equipment. Okay, so much to damage counters. I hope you understood this concept. Feel free to ask me questions. But this is how equipment works and what happens when you basically blow up an equipment in different games. Now, before we can move on to Legends of Runeterra, we have to look at the other digital card game, which is Hearthstone. And now I'm not a good Hearthstone card drawer, didn't put that much effort into it. But over here we have a Boulder Fist Ogre. That's a 6/7. And Hearthstone works completely differently to the other games. Over here we have a Chillwind Yeti, 4/5, you should see the cards here on the side. And in Hearthstone, you have 2 health points. You have your full health point, let's say the maximum health, which is 7. And then you have your current health, which in this case is also 7. So 2 separate things here. And this is basically what's printed over here, unless something else gets added to it. Now let's say this guy battles this guy. In Hearthstone there is no damage. There is no damage counters, I should say. Like this guy inflicts 4 damage, but it now lowers the current health of this guy to a 3. Now he still has 7 maximum health, but 3 current health. You can put this over here. This is how it looks in the game. But Chillwind Yeti, of course, is dead. Now, if we play another guy, let's say, I know this drawing is terrible, let's say Stormwind Champion, I think it's called, Stormwind Knight. And this guy gives everybody +1/+1. And this is like an aura effect. So gets +1. And the current health also goes up by +1. And now let's say our opponent kills this guy. Then the maximum health goes down. However, because the current health is lower than the maximum health, it stays the same. It doesn't get also adjusted. That's just how Hearthstone works. It's a little bit confusing at first, but as long as the current health stays lower than the maximum health, it doesn't get adjusted. And now we have Legends of Runeterra, which is kind of a mix of all of these games. In a way, maybe not Pokemon, but let's start with our Lulu. I'll show you Lulu over here. She's a 3/3 for 3, and she has the effect that she can on attack buff a guy to a 4/4. So her current health is a 3, and the maximum health is a 3, and her current health is also a 3. And we also have a set on the board, which is just a 2 health guy right now. So what happens if we attack with Lulu? So Lulu attacks, now gives Set a temporary health buff, turns him into a 4/4 with her effect. At the end of the turn, this effect gets reverted. Now Set turns back from maximum health to current health. So the maximum health goes down from 4 to 2. This means that now his current health is higher than its maximum health, which means that its maximum health gets adjusted down to 2 again, or its current health gets adjusted down to 2 again. So the current health can't be higher than the maximum health. That's the case, like if Lulu, 4/4, goes back down to 2, then, because it loses the Lulu buff, then this also goes down to a 2. So far, so clear, I hope. This is what currently happens with these health buffs. And of course, also, if like the Set is a 4/4, would then get hit by, I don't know, an enemy Yuumi, raids into it, then its current health would go to 2. But then if it gets reduced, it doesn't get reduced again because current health is 2 and maximum health is also 2. Okay, what happens with an equipment or attachment? Doesn't matter. Let's say I put a Pot of Pain, this is +1/+2, on my Lulu. Now, first of all, you should notice that this is a second card. This is not like, doesn't get stuffed in here with the same card. It's a second card, it stays a second card. And it adds the +2 over here. So 5 and 5. Now, if our Lulu battles a Set, now she's losing 3 health, goes down to a 2, but she still has the maximum health total of 5. Now, if this equipment would go away, like with Quietus for example, then her maximum health total will go to 3, but it would still be higher than her current health total. So the health wouldn't change. However, what happens if I now put a second equipment on it, like for example a Yuumi? It can only be one equipment in this game on Legends of Runeterra. So what happens is you target the Yuumi on the Lulu, Pot of Pain gets recalled to the hand. It's our hand. What happens then is, let's say she's still at 2, her maximum health goes down. However, her current health doesn't adjust because it's still lower than the maximum health. Now Yuumi gets put onto her. This raises her maximum health again and also raises her current health, which makes her a 5-4. Now if I were to switch it around again, it would first of all, once again, unattach the Yuumi. This would mean it would go down to 3. Then current health is over maximum health, goes down to 3 again. Then Pot of Pain comes in and up to 5, up to 5. And this is how switching equipment heals up a unit. Another thing I want to address is with silence and with just general, because I think this visual thing really makes it obvious. So if you silence a card, this is a silence, then it loses all of its effects. However, if you silence a Lulu, then the Pot of Pain is still a separate card, so this is not silenced, and this stays on the card. You have to destroy the second card, and it's just how it works in every other game with equipment. The main unit isn't affected, or the equipment isn't affected by the main unit, unless the main unit would die, for example. But you have to separately interact with the equipment. Okay, so I hope I made this a little bit more clear for you, why this happens. Similarly, if you make like an exact copy, let's say we have this Lulu over here with the Pot of Pain, then it gets hit by 4 damage, for example, so maximum health is 5, and gets hit by 4 damage, whatever, then its current health goes down from 5 to 1. Then I would make an exact copy of it. So, for example, this is our exact copy. Then the exact copy would just copy this one. And it wouldn't have the Pot of Pain. So it has like 3 maximum health, but because of the copy being subtracted by this, it would just restrict this one, and the copy would just die again because it has no current health. So the Pot of Pain, the 2 health it gives here on the current and maximum health, don't get added over to the copy, which means the copy would just have no health, because it would just copy these stats, but -2 on both. So it would be a 3 max, -1 current, and it just dies. Could you change that to work differently? Sure, you could just say it just copies the base stats and ignores the Pot of Pain +2. But that's not currently how it works. Similarly, if you were to turn this guy around with a Obliterate Hourglass, then this Pot of Pain would recall to hand, and then it would subtract from both the current and max health this +2 from the Pot of Pain. So 3, and then just -1. When the creature comes back, it has 3 maximum and -1 current health, and it dies again. And this is why Hourglass and the other stuff works differently to, for example, a Lulu buff. If I have the Lulu buff over here, put this Lulu buff on set, then of course, if I put this exact copy of set away, make an exact copy, it's still a 4-4 because this is like on the card itself, not like on a second card. I hope this explained it a little bit for you and explained how equipment works. You can use this in your games. Consider leaving a follow for more rule stuff in the future. And yeah, thank you for watching.